This episode of the Gentleman Scofflaw podcast is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/gentscofflaw to help produce the show.
You are listening to the Gentleman Scofflaw podcast. Listener beware.
Rise and shine, the liquor store is open. I ain't got time for moping. I best be on my way. Well, I still got time to save my reputation. Time to go day drinking in this dirty little town.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Gentleman Scofflaw podcast, the podcast for the rebel and a Renaissance man. Welcome to the 2020 fall season of the podcast. Co-hosting with me, as per usual, is the Donovan Fowler. And I should say, my name is Jordan Crowder, otherwise known as Yukon Jordelius. How you doing?
I saw that on Facebook. I was like, that is perfect.
Yeah.
That is
I didn't have a, you got the Don. I needed a podcast handle. I didn't have one.
You know what? It fits. If the shoe fits, wear it out of the store. That's
exactly.
What I say.
Wear it out of the store and don't pay for it. Let's start off with a little bit of housekeeping. What do you got there, the Don?
All right. You know what this sound is? It's the sound of the weekend. Sound of the weekend just starting here.
That is the sound of the weekend. A simpler weekend.
Yes,
good old standby classic.
Yeah.
Here I've got I got a little something for my birthday. Happy belated birthday, by the way. Both of our birthdays are last month. I've got some Evan Williams single barrel vintage.
Dude, I was looking at that the other day in the store. That's you'll have to let me know how it is. What's the percentage on that bad boy?
The percentage is, it says it's 86 proof, 86.6, so 43.3.
Nice.
That seems like an odd proof. I've never seen that before. I think
that might be, honestly, actually, I think that might actually be the proof of the, of regular Evan Williams.
Really?
Yeah. It's not 40. It's not 50. It's somewhere in between. But, I guess that makes sense if it's, the single, I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And I've got in my corn cob Dagner poker cob, courtesy of aristocob.com. Go ahead and get your own corn cob pipe from there if you're looking for one. I've got some Briar Shop custom blend called the Virgin Cherry that was made specifically for inspired by our podcast over at the Briar Shop
inspired
by Tanner the Tobacconist there.
Mind.
Yes.
My sick mind. I actually, you know what? I'm doing the same thing here.
There we go.
I'm almost I still got a third or so there.
Oh no, we gotta get you some more of that.
Dude, this stuff is just it's awesome. It's
gangbusters. Really good. It's not offensively cherry. And it's like the perfect amount.
You know what the smell reminds me of? Every time I open up my tobacco pouch, it reminds me of like Cocoa Pebbles, which is that. For me very, very good. Like I like chocolate cereals when I was a kid. That was like you woke up early so that you could get to the chocolate cereals before everybody else. Otherwise, you were stuck with Cheerios.
Spoken like a man from a big Irish Catholic family.
Yeah, trust me, there's nothing worse than waking up at 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning, coming down and finding that somebody has put the Count Chocula back in the cupboard, but it's only got dust in it. It's almost like they're taunting you. It's like,
that's
it's
offensive.
A sick joke.
That's really offensive. That's an affront. That was done on purpose. You know that.
Yeah.
Let me start by at the top of this hour thanking a new patron. His name is Josiah Uttermullen. Hopefully I said your name right. If I didn't, let me know and I'll send you another free sticker. He joined at the gentleman level on Patreon. So thank you, Josiah. And if you want to join us and help support the show for as little as $1 a month, come on, you could afford $1 a month. You probably pay more for that in stamps, right?
Yeah.
I guess.
Exactly.
55 cents to send a letter.
Definitely worth that. Definitely worth
two letters. Yeah, you get the sticker and some little extras and stuff we're posting up there, some stuff that goes up early. Also, other patrons that joined recently, and even some from the past, we just sent out some welcome letters and some thank you letters to all of you that'll be actually being dropped in the mail after the recording of this episode. They're all in a neat pile over there by the door, ready to go. So go ahead and... Oh, well, it looks like we lost Donovan for a sec. I'll let him reconnect. Donovan has a little bit of an announcement here. Things have changed a little since our summer season. Donovan, what's going on in your world?
Wait, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I said that you disconnected, but still did the introduction knowing that you'd be back.
Thank you. I heard the whole thing.
But then you interrupted the flow by asking if I could hear you, and it wasn't as elegant as I had hoped it would be.
I was just trying to be courteous, and I screwed everything up. Anyways, my I guess the update lately is so I actually it's such a weird thing to just say this. I'm in law school right now. I woke up one morning and I thought, I think I'll go to law school today, to quote.
You're just like L One. Yeah.
Yeah, the best. Actually, no, I will say, watched a lot of movies about lawyers in my lead up, because, I had to research. And I'd say My Cousin Vinny still stands. Maybe up there with The Verdict. Paul Newman. I think he'd be. I think he'd be actually a good guest on this show if we could have that character from that movie. But
yeah,
obviously, My Cousin Vinny is a classic. Yes, I decided. Actually, it's funny. Thinking back to it, what kind of started me on this road was. I mean, you kind of knew about this back maybe a month shy of a year ago. I was kind of looking to broaden my studies of things, and I decided to take the LSAT. My little sister had been in law school for a while, and I listened to her talk about it, and I was pretty interested. My dad's a lawyer and uncles are lawyers, so I've always had that legal side of things in my family. And anyways, I don't know, man. I just decided to go for it. I kind of haphazardly took the LSAT, ended up passing by some miracle. And then during the whole shutdown thing, it just all kind of fell into place. I had some time and, applied and basically got into good old UMKC. So I am, I'm back in Kansas City right now, and I am taking on my law studies.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations. I know we were talking about that offline. I remember talking out in the parking lot, smoking some stogies during the Conor McGregor fight earlier this year. You were talking about possibly going that route.
I remember, it's funny. That's like one of the memories that I have cemented in my brain of my time in LA. I mean, obviously I have a bunch because I was there for 12 years, but I remember us standing on the street corner. We couldn't get into, we either couldn't get it. No, we went to get into the Conor McGregor fight, and the cover was way too much.
Yeah.
And we were like, you know what? I got a flask. We got our cigars. Let's just stand out. And then it was, we were better off because he ended up beating the guy in 15 seconds. So it would have been a total waste of money. But we were standing on the street corner and talking about life, and you had the giant Americana sign, flashing in the background. It was a good time. That was fun.
I also remember there was some sort of Armenian ball or prom or something going on.
There were a bunch of it was like a quinceañera for Armenians. I don't know exactly what that entails, but yeah, that was. I mean, hell, it's Glendale, man.
Glendale,
par for the course.
People that don't know Glendale, live in other parts of the country. It's got the highest concentration of an Armenian population than anywhere else outside of Armenia in the world.
So much so that Azerbaijan is currently trying to bomb Glendale specifically for that reason.
What?
Well, Armenia and Azerbaijan are at war right now.
Oh, geez. I picked the perfect place to live during a pandemic and election year.
Send cruise missiles over Glendale.
All right. Well, later on the show, we're going to have our returning guest and good friend of ours, Vince Masciale, also a fellow cigar smoker, has a really nice humidor, and director of the new movie, Faith-Based, that's out today on demand. So you'll be able to rent that right after we talk to him. I don't know if you saw this in the news. It's been a pretty funny week in news here, Donovan. But did you see this Wendy Williams, a talk show host, her clip about talking about coronavirus?
I did see this. This is here. Let me pull it up here.
We can play a clip for us.
I always got Wendy Williams confused with Sunny Hostin from The View. And I don't know, you can call me racist for that, but basically, I never knew who Wendy Williams was, but all I've seen of her are really embarrassing clips, like the unfortunate one where she passes out midway through her Halloween episode or something. Anyways, she's had a bad track record as far as getting on YouTube. But here we go with this little gem of a moment from her show.
Trump, don't be afraid of Cornova. Don't let it dominate your life. Sir, are you serious? We are here out in the field. We are frightened of Cornova. You got it. So we can get it.
Man.
More people than I could say dead.
I want to see what the masks. That's it, right? I mean,
yeah.
that's
she throughout this whole episode refers to coronavirus as Cornova.
I mean, here's the thing: this thing is. The virus has been around for half a year. How on earth does somebody not know how to pronounce it? Also, you have an instant out. You have the most recognizable nickname ever, COVID.
Yeah.
You don't even have to add the 19. I want to see what people's masks say.
It's really funny because it's like the first one you could excuse as, oh, it was just a flub, we flub many things on the podcast.
Yeah.
But she proceeds to call it that throughout the entire show. She thinks it's called Cornova.
Yeah. By the way, we don't flub anything on this podcast.
Never.
Don't leave the viewers on like that.
There was another thing I saw in this news, sort of related to coronavirus. We don't always just do coronavirus news, but it's just what are you laughing at?
I'm sorry. I just pulled up because I noticed they kept cutting to the audience and people were socially distant, so it looked really awkward to begin with. But I just cut to one of the cutaways of the audience, and the mask that this guy is wearing, it just says, "How you doing?" It's like, how you doing? I don't know, man. I'm not a fan of people who put. I don't listen. It's enough that I have to look at your face. I don't want to have to read as well. I
want to have to read your face too.
Yeah.
All right. Another thing I saw that was pretty funny in the internet this week is a man basically pre-recorded himself in video meetings for a week, and nobody knew.
That's nuts.
He basically recorded a bunch of clips that were looped and some basic responses, and he would basically be sitting there, doing his work, whatever, as the meetings go in the background.
Okay.
And if he was addressed, he would kind of like we do with our podcast, where you pull up a clip, you could just hit the clip. Almost like Max Headroom or something.
Right.
And he would respond. And because it's on Zoom, there's always delays and glitches. Nobody thought anything of it. Nobody figured it out.
Frame jump would look natural on Zoom, which is par for the course. That's interesting. I mean, I guess it takes a certain kind of person, because you'd still have to sit there for the meeting, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you would.
So you'd be doing other stuff, but I couldn't concentrate with that. I'd almost be better off just sitting through the meeting.
Sitting through it, yeah.
I guess. I don't know. That's interesting.
I think he was just trying to prove that he could do it, but it's like there are some meetings where, I've sat through and I was completely pointless for me being there. And even meetings in person, like in the past with jobs that I've had where I'm like, why am I here? I could be working on the other mound of stuff I have to do right now for this job.
I think there are studies that pretty much prove that meetings can be, or most meetings, a majority of meetings are a massive waste of time.
Yeah.
And right now I'm just imagining on the other side of that meeting was Dennis Hopper in Speed. And he realizes that it's looped, and he just starts to go nuts, and he blows up the bus.
Oh man!
Anybody gets that reference? But yeah, that's points for being ingenuitive or whatever.
Yeah, and you can watch the video. We'll link again to Wendy Williams' video and this guy's video in the show notes. Maybe I might just pull this off on you. I might try and do an entire podcast where you don't even know that I'm all pre-recorded, and we'll see how that goes.
That would be, that would be interesting. Just we'll just We'll just
what's the matter, Wendy Williams?
Oh my gosh, I'm totally pulling a Wendy Williams. It's you know what? I have no excuse. What word was I even looking for? Was it
You're speaking law speak using fancy words like precursor.
But that's not even the word I was looking for. I don't even know what I was. We'll introduce it as you've had a little bit too much to drink and you're just passed out.
A little too much simpler times. Another little thing I found this week is man arrested for camping at abandoned Disney World Island. So we have this man had a little bushcraft camp, I guess, over in Orange County.
Good old Orange County, Florida.
Is that? Disney World. And it's weird because Disneyland is in Orange County, California, right?
It's in Anaheim.
But isn't that Orange County? Or is that in LA
it's a different
County?
Different thing. But it is southern. I mean, it's south, like in that area. It's, I guess, Orange County adjacent. But it's weird because Florida does have a couple different, like Orange County, Hollywood. Like there's Hollywood, Florida.
My grandmother lived in Hollywood, Florida.
I mean, that was always early on in my LA experience. I always got confused because I would look up like weather in Hollywood, and I didn't realize that Hollywood isn't really a city; it's a neighborhood.
Yeah.
So like, it's like I lived in Hollywood for like 8 years, and like it was just Los Angeles. But then you have like West Hollywood, which actually is a city. But yes, this case of this man camping. I mean, I've thought about it. I remember going to Disneyland and thinking, gosh, what if I just like hid out here? Like, would anybody catch me? Like if I just hid out in the tunnels on the Tom Sawyer Island or whatever. But it's what I found interesting was like, I thought this island was still in operation, but I guess it's abandoned. I guess they stopped using it. So that's,
I mean, if you're not hurting anybody, why not? I mean, have you? Yeah. There's this one guy that actually Johnny Boy turned me on to online. His name's Steve Wallace, and he just does these videos where he goes and randomly stealth camps in different areas where you think you'd never get away camping. And he's not a homeless guy or anything. It's just like a hobby of his, and it's like I feel like these guys would be kindred spirits.
I mean, here's the only thing that far be it for me to defend this Mickey Mouse who has become a massive a massive titan of industry. Yeah. And obviously it's a huge corporation. So I'm not gonna do a whole lot to defend Disney here, but I will say the precedent is probably correct because anybody who's camping out on your property typically is not necessarily, I'd say a majority of the time, is not going to be the kind of person that you want on your property. So like you just don't know, I mean, they could be totally crazy. And then, you could have an adverse possession kind of thing coming. That's my legal studies coming into play here. But actually, the funny thing is I read about it. I read when it said he tried to claim ignorance of trespassing. which we've been studying trespassing and torts and property law. And I guess the one thing about trespassing is I don't think you can claim mistake of fact with trespassing. And they did hit him with it, because there were signs.
Yeah.
So there's only so much you can kind of claim ignorance on. Don't take my word on that, because I'm not a disclaimer, I'm not a practicing lawyer, and I will get in trouble if I try to advise anybody. Like, seriously, like they will take away, like they'll kick me out of school if I try to advise anybody on law.
So we got to start every podcast now with a disclaimer that the Don is not a real lawyer. This is not real legal advice.
Just Chiron me, not a real lawyer.
Okay.
Like, whenever I start going into, legal studies and stuff like that. But yeah, hopefully this guy isn't listening. But basically, and if he is, he already knows what he did.
Yeah, he did.
Anyways, that's interesting. I didn't know about that, but it sounds like he had a good time.
Yeah.
He said it was like a paradise.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably really clean, and there's probably some nice bathrooms there, nicer than most campground vaulted toilets, I would assume.
I also read that there were some animals on the island, like it was like a zoo.
Oh, so he had his own like little alone situation where he could have hunted the animals and lived off the Disneyland.
He was just waiting for Eve to show up. He was, he's just like waiting for some whammon to show up. But it is interesting because it was saying mostly it was like birds and like some other harmless species, but I just, in my mind, I immediately jumped to like, what if they had those Komodo dragons? Like what was like, that's the beginning of like a sci-fi horror movie, like a sci-fi channel horror movie. It's like some guy's like, oh, this is like a paradise, I'm gonna camp here, and then all of a sudden he gets dragged out of his tent by a Komodo dragon.
Well, it's Florida. He could be dragged out by a gator or some giant spider or something.
I mean, honestly, that probably is a legitimate. I mean, those gators do hang out around Disney World, and I would be worried if I were him. I mean, I would not be super, confident in camping out there. But
have you ever seen that show Dual Survival on I don't know if it's History Channel or Discovery, where it's like these two survivalists get put and dropped in some random situation, and one of them is Dave Canterbury, who I'd love to have on the show. If for some reason out in the ether you're listening, please come on. He's the author of Bushcraft 101, which I'm learning a little bit of bushcraft. We're going to do a little bushcraft camping episode in the coming months. But he and this other guy, Cody Mundine or something, I can't remember his last name. They get put in these situations, and like it might be a swamp, or like maybe your parachute dropped in a desert, or maybe you're whatever it is. There's all these different situations, and you only have a certain set of things you got to survive from. There's this one episode where like Dave Canterbury like literally kills a crocodile, and then like is field dressing it and dragging it back to their camp and like eating crocodile over the fire. It's crazy.
It's supposed to be pretty good stuff. I hear those crocs are, well, actually I guess mostly alligators is what I hear are good eating. But crocs,
well, maybe it was an alligator. I can never remember the difference.
Where was he?
I think it was somewhere in Louisiana. In swamplands.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, I actually heard there's in the Everglades, in the Florida Everglades, because so many of those, if you've ever traveled through the South, you see all these weird farms where they have alligator farms and stuff like that. Yeah. And part of their attraction is they'll have exotic species. And I heard that somebody had released Nile crocodiles or something like that, like crocodiles from the Nile into the Everglades, and the Florida has a shoot on site, like basically like destroy these things as fast as you can because they're super dangerous. And anyways, who knows? Who knows if it's true? But also pythons, I guess, are out in the Everglades.
Stuff.
Florida men have the propensity to do that stuff. You know. So
they are definitely their own breed. All right, we're going to take a quick break and be back with the director of Faith-Based, Vince Masciale, but want to direct you over to the Gentleman Scofflaw website. Go ahead and hit the contact button. Send us some listener mail. You can also leave us a review on iTunes or Google Podcasts, and we'll read it on the show. If it's good. If it's bad, too, we'll also read it. Bad ones are also funny. We'll do that too. And all right, we'll take a quick break and be back with Vince Masciale. Hello, gentlemen Scofflaws. Thanks so much for being a loyal listener of the show, and your feedback and support is really what keeps us going and means a lot to us, so sincerely, thank you again. Now, if you're a fan of the show and you want to take your support to the next level, why not support the show on Patreon? We offer all sorts of extras on there, like outtakes, extended interviews, a bonus movie podcast, and behind-the-scenes content. Better yet, we have options that start as little as $1 a month. You pay more for that at a parking meter to go in and grab a cup of coffee at Starbucks. See what I did there? If you're interested in helping support the show, please check out patreon.com/gentscofflaw or click the support link on the website. Again, that's patreon.com/gentscofflaw. We look forward to having you as part of our team.
The only thing standing between you and your dreams is you and your dreams.
Lord, Father God, we give thanks and praise for all of these bountiful gifts.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you.
And Luke, his work in pool sanitation, Lord, it is really something else.
Tanner, it's time for us to do something with our lives.
Time to go to church.
The attendance of the church has been slowly declining. We need $75,000 just to make the rest of the year's rent.
Okay, I got an idea. Faith-based. The entire genre is a gold mine. I want to make the best Christian movie Jesus has ever seen. It's time to show my dad what we can do. Dude, it seems like a lot of work. Nikki Steele says,
You work hard, you play hard. You work harder, you play harder. You work hardest, you play rock hard.
I'm in.
For these movies to make money, you need some keywords in the title. Purpose, faith, prayer, heaven.
You know, Thoughts and Prayers, the movie. Prayer and Prejudice, Faith and Furious.
A prayer in space. The first prayer ever to be prayed in space.
Got to talk about God. Doesn't have to be God. You can talk about a higher power.
So then it's like... the spaceship lands perfectly on Mars.
Action Space Monster.
What the ET double hockey sticks is this?
Why do all these Christian movies have to be bad?
They don't have to be bad. They just don't have to be good.
Lord, save me from these space monsters!
Christian movies are a great way to impact the world. And they're also very lucrative.
What do you two even know about making a movie?
All right, that was the trailer for the new film from our guest today, director, filmmaker Vince Masciale, the director of Faith-Based. Thanks for coming on, man.
Absolutely, Jordan. I'm excited to do this.
Yeah. For our listeners, you guys have heard him a couple Octobers ago when we talked about his previous film, Fear Inc., and we'll link that in the show notes if you want to go find out more about that. But yeah, man, I watched the movie last night with Lacey, and we just loved it. We thought it was hilarious, and we were just laughing the whole way through. So definitely a great job on it. So yeah, I want to
thank you.
I want to kind of find out, like, what gave you the idea for this movie? I mean, I know that it's no secret you and I are both quote unquote Christians. So we come from this world. It's kind of, in a way, sort of our tribe. So I'd love you to set it up and let me know where you got the idea for this movie and how it came about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for watching it. I'm glad you guys got a kick out of it. Yeah, I mean, this originated a couple years back. So you mentioned Fear Inc. So Fear Inc. was our first film that I directed and my partner Luke wrote, and the other star of Faith-Based, Tanner Thomason, was a producer on. And so we made, this was our first feature. It was a horror comedy. Got into Tribeca. It did really well for us, and our expectations were great. We're gonna go sell a TV show, or we're gonna get a movie financed. And we took a lot of meetings, and it was super exciting. But none of those things ever turned out to, and turned into anything big. Like, we sold a show, and it never got on the air, and we weren't getting paid the big bucks that we thought we were. So at one point, walking out of one of these meetings, my partner Luke turns to me and he says, we should just make a faith-based movie and cast Kevin Sorbo or, one of those A-list or B-list actors in the movie, and take all the money from that, and then we can fund our own projects. And he said it as a joke, and we laughed, and then we thought, that's actually a funny idea for a show. We originally developed it as a show, and so we kind of outlined what the first season was, and then we set that aside. And then about a year and a half ago, we were itching to go make something, and we're like, what do we have that we can go make with our friends? And Faith-Based, the TV show, was the only idea we had that we're like, I think we could do this pretty cheaply, and the initial idea was like, let's go shoot on our phones and grab our friends. And so we took season 1 and developed it into a 90-minute feature, and that started in January of 2019, and we were shooting by end of April 2019. It was crazy.
Wow, that's awesome. It's funny. I feel like a lot of filmmakers have had this conversation, because I remember even back in college when Fireproof came out, I had a professor, his name's John Pearson. He's written a book called Spike, Mike, Slackers, and Dykes. He was a producer's rep for like Kevin Smith and Michael Moore and Richard Linklater, all these guys. And he came in the class the morning after the weekend after Fireproof came out. And that was the one thing, is we'd always kind of analyze what came out over the weekend, what the box office was. And he's like, seriously, all of you guys should go make Christian movies. He's like, they made X million or whatever, and they didn't pay anybody to make it, and it was complete profit. Yeah. He's like, just give up right now on whatever, zombie movie or whatever you got going on, and go make a Christian fireman movie.
It's true, man. It's like the business model for these movies, it's really anything Christian, because Luke, who wrote the movie and stars in the movie, grew up in on the East Coast in the Christian, bubble, as you might call it. Yeah. And, grew up with a lot of friends that played in bands, secular bands that weren't doing very well. And they decided at some point, a few of these bands decided at some point, why don't we just become a Christian band, change the lyrics of some of our songs? And they went bonkers. They went crazy successful. And it's like, that's the whole reason why we thought this movie was interesting, was because the business behind anything tied to Christianity can be insanely lucrative, and it doesn't have to be good. Usually it's not. And people will show up in droves to support this stuff. And we even say it in the movie. It's like, Luke's dad is a pastor, and so he took some of those real life experiences and put it into the script. And his dad will go and rent anything that has Jesus in the title or is talking about Christians. Their churches will rent buses and will ship off their congregations to go watch these movies. So the whole idea was just like, how, for us, it was hilarious. Like, we're trying to make quote unquote legitimate projects, and the joke is like, well, we'd probably be way better off if we just made a faith-based movie.
That's funny. It's like I read an article once, and it was actually by a guy who's made a bunch of quote unquote faith-based movies. He had an article called "Why Christian Movies Are So Bad," and I
read that.
Have you read that? Yeah, and like it's funny, like he likened it to because it's like the only movie or the genre where like the message is the medium and everything else gets thrown out of the window. Like there's like in terms of technical quality, acting, story, all that stuff,
Right.
like that doesn't matter. The message is what the focus is. And he even like he likened it to like the porn industry where it's like nothing else matters but the end goal, I guess.
It serves one very specific purpose, and everything else you can throw out the window.
Exactly. Which is just so funny.
It's crazy.
So when you were working on pre-production on this or working on the pilots for what was originally the show, you must have had to watch a lot of bad Christian movies. I'm just assuming you have. Did you go through that process or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when we were first talking about the TV show, we had seen and come across and heard of a bunch of faith-based movies and knew about, Kirk Cameron, Kevin Sorbo, and Dean Cain, and all these actors that kind of went from pretty big success doing secular content to all of a sudden, like, this is their career now. And so one of the things we did early on, there's this company called PureFlix, which is basically the Netflix for faith-based movies.
Yeah.
And we just went on PureFlix and watched, I don't know, 100 trailers. Like didn't sit and watch all the movies, but like you go through the list and you watch these trailers and it's just like, it's unbelievable how awful some of these movies look. And then before we started shooting, I binged a bunch of faith-based movies and I just kind of did several in a row. Like I went back, did Fireproof and War Room and God's Not Dead and started watching all those movies. And, it was enough for me to be very confident in what comments we were making in the script and going, okay, yeah, these are the rules of a faith-based movie, and let's kind of run and go with it,
Gosh, there's definitely a formula to it. Is there anything that you think out of those movies? Is there anyone in particular that stood out as particularly bad or particularly good? Like, do you have like a top best and top worst?
One of the movies that I came across is a movie called Believe Me, which is this director Will, I think his last name is Backey, and in the process of like making faith-based, I actually got in contact with the director of that movie because it was one of those that stood out as like a faith-based movie that was trying to cross the boundaries into the secular world. And the whole concept is this group of guys at a college realize that starting a fake charity is insanely lucrative. And so it starts small and the thing blows up and they're like touring with this like nonprofit organization and they've got this worship band that's playing every time. And the main guy goes out and does these big speeches. And at the end of the day, they're like skimming all this money off the top of the movie, but it's a faith-based movie. It's very well done and like, high quality. And I think the director was trying to like make a statement of like faith-based movies don't have to like, this is kind of a normal story. Whereas, most faith-based movies are pretty trying to beat you over the head with religion.
Yeah.
So that one was good. And at the end, it still is like the main guy, becomes Christian. So it is very much a faith-based movie. One of the ones that like, I just laughed out loud. It was so bad to me was War Room. That one, like it had a decent enough premise. It's like, I watched Fireproof, which was like the very low budget first sort of foray into let's have a, star from the 90s. Kirk Cameron playing this movie and production value is not great and the script is not great, but it did really well. And then War Room is like, okay, they spent more money. They had nicer sets and nicer locations and a bigger cast and better production value. But the whole concept of that movie is this lady thinks her husband's cheating on her. So she's advised to build a war room in her closet in her house, which is basically just a place to go and pray. And so there's this amazing scene where she's like rips all of the clothes out of her walk-in closet and like puts a Bible in there and I think she puts up a picture of Jesus or something, and like goes in there and prays for her husband, right? And so the scene that's like laugh out loud awful was, she goes in this room and starts praying while her husband's out on a date with another woman, right? And she goes in there. Up until this point in the movie, she hasn't confronted her husband. There's no like going to therapy. There's no like conversations. She just goes in this room to pray. So she goes in there and starts praying while he's out at dinner with this girl. And all of a sudden, magically in the middle of dinner, when they're paying the check and she's like, do you want to go home? He's like, I'm actually having second thoughts. And it's like, come on. It's just so bad that it's like, it's deducing the power of prayer into this like magic spell. Yeah. And that's the stuff that like really got me, as a Christian. It's like, I definitely believe in the power of prayer, and I believe in a lot of the things that these movies are talking about, but the way they go about doing it and really simplifying complicated issues into simple solutions is just that's not reality.
Yeah, for sure. I just remember, I never saw that movie, but I remember hearing the ads on the radio, and I just remember hearing the old lady like, it's my prayer room, my war room. Just like laughing.
It's really bad.
It seemed really like it was a parody. When you were working on this movie, before it even came out, you even started working on it, you had a little bit of controversy. I'd love for you to set that up. Tell me about that a little bit.
Yeah, it was crazy. This was the first day of shooting back in 2019. We had an announcement go out in the Hollywood Reporter just announcing that we were doing this movie. And then a couple hours later, Fox News somehow found that Hollywood Reporter article and bashed, these Hollywood hacks, they said, are making fun of Christians again. And then Breitbart picked that up and had an even crazier article. And you can imagine the comment threads in those articles. Clearly, they're just like trying to do clickbaity headlines because they knew nothing about the movie. They knew nothing about us. This was our first day of filming. So they obviously hadn't seen the movie.
Obviously.
And it was like, at first it was like a shock. And then immediately we were very pleased with the fact that Fox News and Breitbart were coming after us for something that they knew nothing about. And the comment thread was crazy, and people were getting all up in arms about it. And we're like, you know what? You just gave our movie a lot of notoriety when you're sitting there making fun of it. So
that just says a lot about the age we live in, where it's like people could be up in arms about something they haven't seen, don't know anything about, not even finished yet.
They didn't like Relevant magazine picked it up too. And we wrote back to Relevant and said, we'd love to you guys are talking about this. We'd love to sort of give our comments on it, because what we think is crazy is Fox never reached out to us to talk to us. They don't know the director of the film is a Christian. Yeah. They're like completely throwing us under the bus. They have no idea what they're talking about. Yeah. But ultimately, it was a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best kind of press you can get for a comedy.
The best part about that was, these comments are pretty vicious and pretty vile. There are some that are really hilarious. And so when our film got into the Santa Barbara International Film Festival back in January, we wanted to release a piece of content for the movie. And because the movie wasn't being released wide yet, we wanted to make sure any sort of trailer we can't do until the movie comes out. So what can we release? Well, we cut together this video of Luke and Tanner, the stars of the movie, basically just reading the comments from the Fox News and Breitbart articles out loud. And the hilarious thing about that is we released that, and what we hoped was going to happen was they were going to write about it again, and they did. Breitbart picked up that story, and in their article, they straight up said, yes, we took the bait. We took it. We're writing about this. And it's just so amazing.
Gosh, they need content. That's the thing. It just needs to be a constant feedback loop. Otherwise they don't have any readers.
Yes.
That's crazy. But like watching the movie and stuff, I feel like anybody who watches it could see that Like it's definitely in jest. Like I think one of the problems with Christians is like we have this idea where we're not supposed to be critical of ourselves. Like the world is critical enough of us. Like why should we criticize ourselves? And then, nothing changes on our end of things. But the film is obviously you could tell it comes from a place of love and jest. Like the people that made it know what's going on, and it's not mean spirited in any way. I don't feel, and I feel like all the characters are still likable in some way. It's like they're not like caricature-y in terms of these really, kind of. I don't know. Like sometimes in a Hollywood movie where it comes from somebody who's maybe not a Christian, the perspective could just kind of make them look stupid or whatever. But I didn't feel that with this movie at all. It felt like it was like, oh, okay, it's everyone here in this is likable too.
Yeah. Well, we never wanted to go into this making fun of Christians or any religion, really.
Yeah.
That was not something we ever wanted to do. And we didn't really, I think the biggest thing we're sort of commenting on is just the commerce aspect of Christianity, and specifically the faith-based film market. And even that is like kind of a backdrop to what the real story is in faith-based, which is just a story about two best friends that are trying to find purpose in their life. And so in that sense, it's not scathing. It's not really making fun of anybody. And to your point, it's like we pull a few punches and make some jokes about, the church environment of, these hip Christians. And, we go to a church that we're sort of making fun of, and it's like, and it's cool, but it's also like, why can't we make a joke about the fact that every one of these churches spends so much time and effort and money talking about how amazing their coffee is? It's like, why can't we do that?
Yeah.
It's like, is that why everyone's showing up? Because they want really good coffee, or, how many tattoos the worship leader has, or, it's just like that stuff should be fair game. And if you can't laugh about that, I think there's something wrong.
Yeah, definitely. I loved there's a worship song in the movie that is just hysterical. I don't know if it's available anywhere for download, but it's so funny. Who wrote that song? How did that song come about? You could tell somebody knows Christian music really well.
Yeah. So I Hung Across is the song that we created for the movie. We're probably going to have the full music video released at the end of this week, most likely.
Awesome.
To like tease. That's just like Luke and Tanner aren't even in it. It's just a music video of the song, because like so many people have commented on the song. And then I think we're gonna put the song on Spotify and Apple Music and stuff later, like either next week or the week after. So I Hung Across. We've got a scene where Luke and Tanner go to church, and they're basically trying to convince this church to fund their faith-based movie called A Prayer in Space. And we thought
the title is so ridiculous.
I know it's insane. There's so many jokes within that one sentence that. We're thinking when we're talking about, pre-production, when we're in pre-production for the church scenes of this movie, we thought, well, of course they can go walk into a service and we can pick any worship song that maybe we can get the rights to and have a band up on stage playing and the guys see it and whatever. And then we thought, well, why don't we make this a thing in the movie, have it be a moment in and of itself? And so Luke's brother-in-law, his name is Ryan Harrison. He's a part of a comedy troupe in Los Angeles called Lost Moon Radio. And so we reached out to Ryan and we basically said, look, here's the scene that we're doing. We want a worship song up on stage that at first seems like it could be a real worship song. And then about 45 seconds into it, hit us with something that's like, wait, what did he just say? And then it turns into something that's borderline inappropriate. That was our direction. And we sent him, songs from Bethel. We sent him songs from Mosaic. And we said, look, this is the current modern, like Christian hip sort of culture right now and what their music sounds like. So if you can make this fit in that vibe, we'd love it. And so a week later, he just like recorded 3 tracks on his phone and sent them to us. All of them were hilarious. And so we picked Hung Across, and then they recorded it. And then we shot a full scene of it the day that we shot that scene, which is just like now one of my favorite things in the movie.
Yeah, it's so good. Well, you were talking about like a lot of these faith-based movies, you know, they'll get some, you said, you generously said B-list celebrity. But
yes, C or D.
C or D. But you actually have some actual, you know, comedians in this movie that are bigger than any of those C-list comedians. How did that come about? Especially like about Jason Alexander, who's hilarious in the movie, and you getting to work with him. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we got so insanely lucky with this movie. Like I said before, our initial idea was literally, you know, let's get as little money as possible together, grab our friends and our phones and go shoot this movie. That was the idea. And then that turned into, we're shooting on really expensive red cameras and Jason Alexander shows up and it's like this bigger thing and Fox News is writing about our movie. But we ended up getting really lucky. It's, you know, the first person we went to that was on the bigger side in terms of, you know, celebrity in their credits was Lance Reddick. And once he came on board, the dominoes kind of started falling from there. Cause like Lance Reddick is a very well-known, very respected actor. And, you know, Luke and Tanner and Vince are like, who are these idiots? But when Lance Reddick is doing the movie, all of a sudden your offer becomes a little bit more enticing because he's been in so many amazing things. So, and then, you know, we reached out to Margaret Cho. We love her and thought she'd be perfect to be the head of Christ Flicks. And the funny thing about her was she had seen the Fox News article bashing our movie. So when we offered her the movie, she was like, I'm in. I already heard about this thing, which was crazy. David Koechner, who plays Butch Savage. And it's like, man, his credits I'm such a fan of his.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's just like things start building up and he said yes. And then, Jason Alexander for Nikki Steele was like such a pipe dream in terms of like, this is a character who's in throughout the whole movie, but is kind of this like mythical character that the character Luke ends up getting to meet and has this amazing epic scene towards the end of the movie. And, you know, we had him on our list of actors and even our executive producer was looking at the list because he was at the top.
Yeah.
Jason Alexander was. And our executive producer had put perfect next to him, but impossible. There's no way he's going to do this movie. And, you know, it was a certain point once we started filming the movie, Krista, my wife, and I were rewatching Seinfeld. And I was like, man, George Costanza would be a perfect Nikki Steele. We should just try it. And so we found out that we had a connection to his agent, and Luke called and said, look, you know the movie, you know what we're working with. It's not a lot. Do you think this is a waste of time if we try to offer Jason the role? And his agent said, Jason only does what he loves and he reads quickly. So you're not going to waste time. You might as well send it to him. And 3 days later, we get an email saying he wants to do the movie.
Oh,
and that was like how quick that happened. Wow. It was crazy. And I just like, I literally was looking at my phone. I'm like, Jason Alexander's going to do this movie. How is this happening?
That's great.
And he was the nicest person I've ever worked with, especially at that like level of an actor. I fully expected him to be whatever these actors are supposed to be, diva or difficult or, you know, just showing up to do the thing. And he wasn't. He was like, he brought his own toupee. We had him do a couple yo-yo tricks, which he like was willing to mess around with us. He hung out with us the whole day and he was so generous, so much fun to work with. It was like one of my best days I've ever had on set. It was incredible.
Wow, that's awesome. I think people forget too how versatile he is too as an actor, because everyone thinks of him as George, but like in the movie itself, he's doing multiple versions of as a character.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like we didn't want him to just be George Costanza, and he's not. He's got a couple different things that he's doing, and the George comes out a couple times, which I was very happy about because it's such an iconic. Once his voice gets to a certain energy level, it's definitely George Costanza, which was fantastic. But yeah, he's a Broadway star. He was the biggest name on Seinfeld when Seinfeld started. So he's a very well trained actor. He's phenomenal. He's just so talented.
Well, that's awesome, man. I'm glad that he signed on board, and I hope I really want people to go and watch this. Before we go ahead and do the plugs for this, I have something that I want to do here, and I'm going to call it a segment called "Does the Faith-Based Filmmaker Know Lines from Other Faith-Based Movies?" Now,
oh gosh.
Lacey compiled these the other day. She had some fun going down the rabbit hole on IMDb, finding some lines from faith-based movies. And I'm going to read some of them here and see if you can guess what movie they're from.
This is not going to be good.
The problem was a lot of the dialogue sometimes is just not only bad, but incredibly boring with some of these, where it was hard to pull some stuff out. All right. I've got this one line here. Let me pull this here. Okay, this line is, "You're cheating on me with Jesus." Do you know what movie that's from?
Oh my gosh. "You're cheating on me with Jesus"? Ugh. Is it easy? Are these easy?
I've seen these
guesses?
titles before, but I don't these seem like major Christian movies, so most of them.
Ugh. "You're cheating with me on Jesus." I'm gonna have to guess one of the ones I've seen. Fireproof?
No, you're close though. This one was A Case for Christ, 2017.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen A Case for Christ.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any. Well, I've seen a couple of these. All right, here's another line. "Love is bigger than any tidal wave or fear." There should be a clue in that line.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of, is there a surfing faith-based movie?
Yep, there is one. If you don't know it, you're probably not going to get it then.
I don't know.
This one's from Soul Surfer 2011.
Soul Surfer. Okay. Helen Hunt's in that, right?
I think so, and Carrie Underwood too, I think.
Yeah, okay. I definitely know that movie. Soul Surfer. Dang it.
All right, this one, I think you're probably going to guess. Crap, where is it? I had it right here. Okay. I'll read the two lines. This is a dialogue between two people. It says, "Charles, what are you doing?" "Someone's been praying in this closet." "That's right. That was her prayer closet." "How did you know that?" "It's almost like it's baked in." And then the person responded, "Ma'am, we'll take the house."
War room. Yeah.
Here's another one, which I don't know. Maybe this is probably a little more mainstream, but this is a dialogue here. He says, "I'm sorry she never got her miracle." And the response is, "She did. It was you."
Oh. Mainstream one. Oh.
Just because there was a big actress in it. And I feel like it was a big thing. Early 2000s.
Early 2000s. Oh, man.
Actress that was a singer.
That's not. Would you consider Blindside a faith-based movie?
I feel like it's definitely got elements of it, but it's in that category.
Okay. Early 2000s. I don't know.
It's from A Walk to Remember.
Oh, yeah.
Walk. Here's another line.
I'm bad at this.
I know. I just want to read some of these because they're funny. Unfortunately, this day and age, people seem to forget that the most basic human right of all is the right to know Jesus.
God's Not Dead?
Yeah, well, I'll give it to you. It's God's Not Dead 2.
2? Oh,
it's the sequel.
I haven't seen 2. I couldn't get. I got through the first one.
Yeah. Oh gosh, these just get worse and worse. But anyway, I just wanted to see how well you knew your faith-based films. They all kind of blend together at one point.
That's
you
not
got
bad.
a couple. Yeah.
But you know what? Those lines could all work in each other's movies.
That's the thing. There was one that I was reading a synopsis for that was like, these are notes from Lady Scofflaw, you know her as Lacey, but our listeners know her as Lady Scofflaw. She wrote, there's lines from it, but I don't think out of context doesn't make much sense. She said, "This movie is not a joke. It's for real. I checked. 5 adults get stranded at the same dinner type place where Jesus is about to serve them up some life-fixing solutions to their various adult problems." And one of the dialogue here is, "Jesus, would you like some water?" Melissa, "Yeah." Kayla, "Do you have any coffee?" Jesus, "I'm sorry. All I serve here is water." Kayla, "You've got to be kidding me." Melissa, "This tastes great." Jesus, "It's my own recipe. 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 of oxygen."
No way. That's a real line in the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, geez.
That is great. What is this called?
This one is called The Encounter 2011. It came out.
I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah.
I've got a list going. We're talking about faith-based. We've been introduced to some movies that we haven't seen yet, like Velocipaster. You heard of this one?
Oh, no. What's that?
Okay. I've got it on my list. It's like some zombie pastor who's like, or a pastor who's turns into a velociraptor, and I don't know the rest of the story, but that's about as much as the trailer gives away. It looks insane. And then there's like Assassin 22 AD or something, where a bunch of Muslims go back in time to try and assassinate Jesus. Is another one that's like in this like action genre of like faith-based movies. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, you're giving the greatest plug for Pure Flicks right now, but what about your plugs? Where can people watch your movie?
Yeah, so faith-based is available anywhere you can rent or buy a movie. So it'll be on all the VOD platforms: iTunes, Amazon, Vudu, Roku, Fandango, all those platforms. I think you can get on DirecTV and Spectrum On Demand, all that stuff. And yeah, it's available there. And then if you happen to be in Japan, we've got a theatrical release in Japan right now, which is really exciting. Which is like, apparently the Japanese are obsessed with our movie. So we're waiting to see how that goes. And then, yeah, that's kind of it for now.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for doing this, and yeah, keep us posted. We love to have you on for any of your projects, and Luke too is always welcome to come on. I love his tweets. I follow them all along. So
absolutely, man. Well, I'm a fan of your podcast, and it's a lot of fun to do this.
Thanks, man.
I hung a cross to remember you by. It's 8 feet tall and 6 feet wide, to remember the things you said. I hung it over my bed, that monstrosity that was your tomb. Oh, it takes up most of the room. I hung a huge cross because your love's so pure, and if it fell when I was sleeping, I'd be crushed for sure.
Gents, it's fall, and you know what that means? You guessed it, pumpkin everything. Now, before you go and start calling me basic, let me tell you about Phoenix Shaving's new fragrance line called Atomic Pumpkin. Now, this isn't your run-of-the-mill seasonal pumpkin pie offering that everybody's doing. This is something a little more sophisticated and alluring. This aftershave and soap line stays within the classic bay rum tradition, but adds a fall spin. Because Atomic Pumpkin Bay Rum is steeped in classic pumpkin pie spices for up to 6 weeks before the batch is complete. It's almost like a crazy whiskey or cigar or anything that's aged. I'm running out of, what else is aged? Only whiskey and cigars? Wine? I guess? I don't know, guys. I don't know. The point is, look at these ingredients. There's West Indian Bay, Moro Blood Orange, allspice, cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, and elemi resin. I don't know what that is, but it sounds festive. This is some fall masculine magic done right, guys. So if you're wanting to step up your grooming game this fall, maybe impress the lady in your life, make a great impression at work or school, then check out this limited edition line by Phoenix Shaving. Just go to gentlemanscofflaw.com/shave, and a portion of anything you buy with that link goes to help support this podcast. So you get to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You support the show you love, and you get to fight off ladies with a stick because you smell so damn good. Is that sexist? I don't know, maybe. But that's why I'm a scofflaw and a gentleman. All right, so that's gentlemanscofflaw.com/shave, and stop being a slave to the drugstore shave. All right, that was a good time with Vince. Always a good guest. We'll be glad to have him again and find out what other stuff he's working on. I'm
pumped to see that movie because Lance Reddick is in it, and I've been watching a lot of John Wick movies lately.
Oh yeah,
and he's the Continental front desk guy.
Yeah,
who's like very he's super reliable in that film. He's great. So
yeah, definitely. Also, one of my greatest takeaways from that interview is that Jason Alexander has his own toupee. That's kind of interesting.
you're a Seinfeld fan, right?
Yeah, of course. I just finished all of it. We've been watching it all during quarantine.
I feel like when I saw him in the trailer with that toupee, I immediately was like, oh, George got his toupee back.
Yeah.
But honestly, the trailer toupee, maybe it looks a little better than the one in Seinfeld, but it's still, I feel like Jason Alexander just can't win in that area of life, He
knows it's funny. That's why he brought his own.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Although I will say, I think I have seen I want badmouth Jason Alexander, but I have seen photos of I as a hobby I look up bald celebrities from time to time, and
what a strange life you have.
He and Jude Law, they're always Jude Law and John Travolta are always on the red carpet, and people are catching them and kind of measuring their hairlines and stuff. Yeah. So I don't know, man. It's funny because Jason Alexander goes from he has a little bit of hair back here in some instances, but then you look at others and he's just completely bald. So it's a subtle game of convincing people you have hair in Hollywood, I guess.
You know what I think is worse though than going back and forth between the amount of hair you have is the hair dye. It never looks natural. Somebody always comes out looking like, oh, geez, you just dyed your hair. I just saw you yesterday. You had gray hair. What's the deal?
I'd say if you end up looking like the shoe polished look, it's too stark contrast.
You can see the dye around the edges of the hair.
Oh, that's the worst. Or no, what's even the worst? What's doubly the worst is when you have some guy with white hair and he does the tanning cream and you see the orange in his hair, and you're just how did you not catch that?
How did no one talk to you before leaving the house? Do you not have anyone that loves you in your life? One thing we got to do is plug a little thing that we like to give away every month, courtesy of our good friend Douglas at Phoenix Shaving, we are giving away a classic CAD aftershave and cologne.
New label.
Yeah, if you've ever been to a barber in your life, or maybe you used your grandfather's aftershave at one point, this is kind of a throwback to that old school traditional manly barbershop scent. And it's one of the greatest aftershaves I've used in terms of actually after shaving. Even when people say, oh, how do you promote shaving stuff? You have a beard. I still have to shave my cheeks, my right under my neck, which is really hard to do, my chest, my back, my butthole. I have to shave everything, and I make sure that when I do, I use products from Phoenix Shaving. So if you're interested, please click the link in the show.
I don't even want to think about you putting that where you just described. That sounds very painful, but I'm sure you'd smell great.
But it's a good burn.
Continue.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying, if you want to enter the giveaway, go to Instagram.com/GentScofflaw. Click the post that features this aftershave, and there's instructions on how to do that.
I was just going to say, I have a personal testimonial from using Phoenix Shaving products, where I put some aftershave on before I went to school.
Yeah.
And I went to my lawyering skills class, and afterwards people were talking in the lounge, and I left to use the restroom, and then I came back, and this girl turned to me and she said, "It's you." And I was like, "Well, what? Like, what are you talking about?" And she was like, "The smell." And I was like, oh, because let's be honest, I hadn't showered that day, but I showered the night before. Okay. But no, I had splashed some Hatha on my face, and she was like, "You smell great." And I was like, "Thank you." It's all due to Phoenix Shaving Club. And, now I'm suing you for sexual harassment.
Did you at least get her number?
We're in class together. If I want to, and also there's no way I'm dating anybody during first semester in law school. It's just not happening.
You have a lot of people that tell you that, like the one guy who said, "Damn, you smell great," talking about the pipe tobacco or something.
Oh yeah. And that then was back in college. So that's like a theme with you. Let's be honest. I'm very popular. No, I do get compliments on occasion. I guess I either have good taste, or honestly, I just get good stuff sent to me, and I just
Thank you, Douglas. Thank you, Douglas from Phoenix Shaving. Also, we have a new merchandise page, and by new I mean of this year. It's no longer the old page. We've got a bunch of new designs of T-shirts. We've got some patriotic tees that are kind of cool that have the flag and one of the new Gentleman Scofflaw logo designs we've been working on, as well as we've got the Lawman and I forget the fireman one that we we have a fireman one too version of it. What do we call it?
Represent those firefighters.
Yeah, the ladder man, I think we called it. I talked to a friend of mine that's a firefighter, and I said, "Hey, what can we call this T-shirt that would be like that's a tribute to firefighters?" And he gave me some name, and I put it on there, and now I forget what it is. Now I feel terrible. Anyway, we've got Thin Red Line, Thin Blue Line, and American flag T-shirts. Also,
clearly not a fireman.
I am wearing the classic Scofflaw T-shirt, which I don't know if you could see, but it's kind of what I like to call kind of a classic bully design. It's just a black monochromatic T-shirt with the white skull logo on it, and it's kind of weathered and vintage looking. Reminds
me of old black and white film.
Exactly. So if you like that shirt, maybe you're in a motorcycle gang, or maybe you know, maybe
I thought you were going to say maybe you're in a motorcycle accident.
No, hopefully not.
Like, why would they need that shirt if they're in a motorcycle accident?
No, hopefully
Cover
not.
up all the scars.
Maybe you're in a punk band from the 80s and you want to wear some sort of, skull t-shirt. Why not make it a Gentleman Scofflaw t-shirt? Go over to gentlemanscofflaw.com and click the shop link to see all of our new Teespring designs. We got lots of cool stuff on there. Donovan, you are a gentleman and a scofflaw, my friend.
As are you. Keep it frosty.
Keep it frosty. All right. You guys have a great week.
This has been the Gentleman Scofflaw podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher. Visit us on the interwebs at gentlemanscofflaw.com.
Captain says his ice on the river. We ain't getting home if we don't break through. So damn cold, I can't help but shiver. Rise and shine, we got work to do. Hey!